Will New York City become a ghost town? The cost of living in New York City, guys, has risen 133%. I remember when New York City was just a cheap place to live. You can get a hot dog for $1 and a soda for 50 cents. Now you can get a hot dog for about $5, $7, depends on which vendor you get from. And a can of soda is about $2, now $2.50. Again, depends on which vendor you go to. The cost of living for everything has risen. Groceries, forget about it. Rent is through the roof. And it feels like, guys, that they're going to force out the poor and even the middle class right out of Manhattan. Manhattan has, in movies, always been the talk of where the elites would live or the rich would live, being that if you got rid of all the rich and you kicked them out, that it would be like an island paradise kind of deal. Now, there's a movie called Free Jack with Emilio Estevez and Rene Russo. In this movie, Manhattan is that place. It's the rich island that the poor cannot access, but they can access the rest of the places like Queens, Brooklyn, that armpit called Staten Island. Those are where the poor live. But we're seeing something similar to that in New York City in real time. So New York City has lost 102,000 residents because they just left. They had enough. Things are too expensive. Crime is out of control. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Jobs are becoming harder to find. Companies are leaving New York City, taking their jobs with them, moving them to the outskirts of New York State or upstate New York or out in Jersey, some in Massachusetts and Connecticut. So a lot of places are leaving as well. They're taxing or trying or talking about taxing the rich exponentially. So that right there is having them leave. You have people who just can't afford to live in the city and their jobs are not paying enough. Now, California raised their minimum wage. New York City is thinking about doing the same thing, but New York City is a tad bit smarter because they see what will happen if they raise the minimum wage to, let's say, $20. You raise the minimum wage to $20, everything else goes up. And the other problem is small businesses start to collapse. Like we've seen in California, a lot of small businesses folded up shop and took their business somewhere else and or just closed their business altogether because they cannot afford to pay their employees $20 an hour. And if they do that in New York City, which I think there's a big argument as to, amongst Democrats that is, there's a big argument as to why they should and why they shouldn't. And obviously I'm going to lean on to why they shouldn't because right now, guys, again, food is exponentially high in New York City. I mean, for example, Five Guys in New York City for one person is like almost $32. Just for one person, depends on what you order. Let's just say me, 3 cheeseburger, large fries, and a soda. That's almost $30. If I eat Five Guys at another state or in another state, let's say Vermont, where I am right now, or Connecticut, it's about $23, $25. A drink in Manhattan at a bar is like $30, $40 now. Well, more like the low 30s, sorry. And it might be $40 if you get a high-end whiskey, like a 20-year whiskey, whatever it is. Not the point. The point is that everything is grossly high. People can't afford it and people are leaving. Now, I'm leaving New York City, but not because it's expensive. It's because I am tired of not finding a place to park my truck. That's me. You have people also looking to leave New York City because of congestion pricing. Congestion pricing is going to add to that headache that people don't want to deal with. I could even see people quitting their jobs because coming into the city is too expensive as it is. Even taking the train, even taking mass transit, it's expensive. Now you're driving into work and you're getting doubly hit. You're getting hit with 2 tolls. Let's say you're coming from Jersey. Hell, even if you're coming from Long Island, you get hit with 2 tolls. You get hit with a toll in Long Island, you get hit with a toll in New Jersey. Then once you get to Manhattan, below 68th Street, you get hit with another toll. They call it congestion pricing. This is driving people, guys, to leave New York City, which one part of me is like, good. I hope they abandon this shithole. But another side of me is like, it's going right back to the 80s And people are going to have to deal with the high crime and the violence that's going to be left behind because so many people, including cops, are leaving. Cops are still retiring in droves. They're bouncing like you wouldn't believe. You got firefighters are still hanging in there. You got EMTs looking to leave because they're not going to be able to afford to go down to work and spend the two tolls to get into the city, the main toll and then the congestion pricing toll. Things are way too expensive and people are abandoning the city. Crime. Crime in itself is another category that I can go on for days about talking about. The migrant situation is another situation that is causing the city to collapse onto itself. So you got high crime and you got migrants. The migrants are being given everything. Now the migrants are starting to complain that they're not being given enough. So what was it? 1,000 West Africans went over to City Hall to go protest like assholes because they wanted more because they state that they were promised green cards and work visas. Work visas, I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure if the city gives you a work visa. I think the state does, but a green card does not come from the state and or the city. So whoever promised them that wasn't a city official. Nonetheless, guys, they are complaining. They are asking for more. So that in itself, with migrants flooding the city, with migrants and their crime wave that they bring with them, and just the crime wave from the regular American citizens, if that makes sense, New York City is going to implode and people are going to start leaving in droves again. Now, again, 102,000 people left. That's not a lot when you think about it because there's about 9 million people in New York City. 100,000 is, all right, it's like a drop in a bucket. But should crime get worse? Should rent become out of reach? Should food become exponentially too high? You're going to have more people leaving. And I want to say probably by next year this time, or if not the end of 2025, we might see 100, 200 to 300,000 people leaving the city. Again, guys, this is not a place, New York City, sorry, is not a place for people to live. It's just not conducive to anyone anymore. Only the rich. The rich is allowed to move there and do what they want, but businesses are starting to leave because they can't afford the rent. People are starting to leave because they can't afford the food and the rent, but the migrants are coming in with their bullshit, bringing in that crime wave, driving everybody else out who is looking to stay. I can't wait till it becomes somewhat of a ghost town because then you can look at the Democrats and go, well, we told you so. Anyway, guys, this is The Angry Prepper. Thank you for watching the Angry Truth channel.